Hello, Internet. It is time for another Wednesday's serial. I'm going to try with this phone again because of the delays. I kind of wanted to go through this week because I kind of got a crazy pickup and I'm trying to decide a few things and would love some feedback too. First off, I really wanted to pour into this. 016 is incredible this week. Um, this book started off as an espionage thing and has gone to pure, like, physicality and bizarre talks of reality, clear talks of Ginsburg and drug use, and it's just fascinating. And there's so much to dig into. I think a lot more people should be looking into this book. This is, if you love comics, check this book out. It is one of Image's top offerings, hands down. Um, Cluster number four, if you're into Bitch Planet, kind of the whole prison thing, and or military, this does an interesting job of kind of blending that and talking about a lot of kind of other side of society in a very sci-fi way. Fun book. And Afterlife with Archie number eight. This was incredible. The way it layered the book with very little action but a lot of consequence. I think if you're a longtime Archie fan, I think there's a moment here that would really kind of speak to people. Just so wonderful. Mutanimals, we're still dealing with that kind of like science industrial sort of side versus like animal rights and stuff, and I think this is a really interesting parallel. It's not the greatest book, but just the fact that it really has a heart about something makes it larger than itself. And I love that. Rachel Rising, obviously incredible, but it felt like we were getting a snippet of a chapter rather than kind of a full fleshed out thing. So it's great, but it's a small slice of great. Um, Roshan Limit did not speak to me. I tried it out. It's very stock sci fi. I would recommend you read anything else. Just there's not even much to talk about. Like, there's a problem and they're trying to deal with it, and it's a little. Yeah. Spider Woman 7, wonderful. If you haven't been following the story arc, we're kind of in the penultimate chapter, I believe. It's interesting, but it's very much in a continuation mode right now, and it's fun, but it is the weakest chapter so far because it is kind of just it's not really adding anything. It's wrapping up, but it hasn't wrapped up, and no witty ending yet. So we'll see. Um, Amazing Spider-Man 18. I'm loving where this story's going, but after Spider Verse, it feels kind of like, okay, here we are. So it's going to be interesting to see how this book goes, especially with where it appears Spider-Man's going with the whole Secret Wars thing, and if that holds after Secret Wars. I don't know. It's just the whole Spider Verse thing seems very up in the air. Spider Gwen is incredible. If you guys have any love for kind of more of the older Spider-Man stories, there's so many nods and winks and moments that play on the heart of what's made Spider-Man great, but also is twisting it and is modern. And this is just, if you love comics and if you love kind of that older Marvel comics feel, I feel like this is a book you need to be picking up. Also with the punk edge, this book has more personality than nearly anything else on the shelf. Um, Return of the Living Deadpool 4, meh, I don't know. It didn't do much for me. But if you love zombies and Deadpool, it's probably up your alley, I guess. Damon issue 7. Damon is a book that I feel encapsulates the idea of, I remember this being good, but it's been so long since I read it, I don't remember what made it good. I remember this being about vampires and stuff, but we're in a coliseum, and it's hard to lock in and hard to read, so I feel like I'm going to have to go back to come forward. And, yeah, and also I feel like what really brought this book out in the first couple of issues was the fact that the art was supposed to be so incredible. Whereas I enjoy it, I don't feel it's at the level that it's brought up to be. Um, it's it's good though, but it's not that. Um, Whereas I would like to say, I was talking about Cluster before. Cluster is a good book, but I feel like it's held back by the artist because it has that weird, darker kind of inked feel that's usually more to IDW than it is to Boom. But it it makes it harder to latch onto the characters, the world building, because things are so muddy. Things don't have the crisp lines that allow things to stand out. That's kind of a universal of what makes good art, good comic art, good anything is, that idea of clear lines. And it's very rare that going away from that adds to a book. But the big find for me this week was there's this Sandman companion by a author, and I'm digging into it and I've flipped through it. It looks like there's a lot of interesting stuff. But so far, the first chapter is basically justifying talking about comics, and it's a little disheartening and kind of interesting to kind of get that argument again for two reasons. A, this was published just a few years ago, like 2013, and also it was published by DC Comics and Vertigo. And also, who's reading something about the Sandman if they haven't at least read some Sandman? It just seems like such an odd place to be, and kind of summarizing, the greatness of comics. And I don't need to be sold on that, obviously. I don't mind reading, getting a little refresher, but it's so like, well, did you know that there's great comics like Watchmen or Mouse or stuff? And it's like, shut up. Just get to the meat of the book that we paid for, because it's so pretentious in the worst way possible. But flipping forward, seeing some bits from Neil Gaiman in there with the various interviews, some stuff from artists, seeing how they're kind of digging into kind of the greater meaning of Sandman and talking about how Sandman's so interesting, is as opposed to your, superheroes, your classic hero tale of, kind of a big, strong physical specimen that's out saving the world. You have this kind of creepy, dark, non humorful character who is kind of beyond relatability, which I think is this author's opinion. I think saying that you can't relate to Morpheus in any way is to not have necessarily the greatest depth of the human condition, to say that we need these great acts of standard heroics rather than kind of talking about the dreaming and how we think and feel about things is such a lackluster way to look at storytelling. So I don't know. I'm really interested to dig in though and see more about that. And so there's two things at this point I wanted to bring out to you guys. First, if you guys know of any like companion books for comics or anything, I have one for the Invisibles. I'd like to hear if you guys know about any more. I find that idea so fascinating. Finding a way to dig in on a specific topic is so great. Also, any videos, of something like that you guys know of, would be great as well. Also, if anyone's interested in another Spider Chat, we have 3 great Spider books here. I'd like to get to that again, if anyone is interested. So, yeah. Wednesday's cereal, guys. I need a computer, but it's coming.